What took you so long? That is what Robert Hanssen said when the FBI finally caught him. No fear, no denial, just arrogance. Because for over 2 decades, he sold America's deepest secrets to Russia from inside the FBI, and no one suspected a thing. Robert Hanssen was born in 1944 to Howard Hanssen, a stern, old-school police officer who expected nothing less than excellence from his son. Young Robert grew up under that pressure, expected to excel academically and disciplined in every aspect of life. That pressure blessed him with a driven intellect, but also seeded a deep resentment toward authority. Hanssen's academic record was razor sharp. He studied chemistry at Knox College and earned an MBA in Accounting and Information Systems in 1971. He initially pursued cryptography with the NSA but hit a dead end. By 1975, he was working in the Chicago Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit. But in less than a year, he swapped careers from the Chicago PD to the FBI. Top-tier academic credentials, accounting skills, no obvious political or religious extremes, a Catholic convert married to Bonnie Walk and Opus Dei faithful, 6 children, church every morning. The US government could not have hired a better cover. Yet beneath that guise, Hanssen smoldered. In the FBI's early counterintelligence postings, first in Gary, Indiana, then New York, and finally Washington, he became a linchpin in surveillance and analytical operations. Still, he saw agents with weaker credentials rise ahead of him. The sting cut deep. That bitterness twisted into resolve. If the US did not appreciate him, perhaps someone else would. And so in 1979, just 3 years into his FBI career, Hanssen detonated a bombshell decision. He approached the Soviet Main Intelligence Directorate, GRU. He had prepared documentation, surveillance maps, intel summaries, everything ready to make a trade. The first payoff was about $20,000, enough to deep pocket the Hanssen household, cover bills, tuck away some for the kids' private school, maybe install that driveway that they had been wanting for so long. But Hanssen was smart about how he operated. He never met his own handlers face to face. He used dead drop sites in parks around Washington, D.C. He created an elaborate system of signals using chalk marks or mailboxes and packages left under footbridges. His operational security was so tight that even his Soviet handlers didn't know his real identity for years. They knew him only by his code name, which was Ramon Garcia. His wife Bonnie discovered his espionage activities in 1980 when she found a large amount of unexplained cash. Instead of going to the authorities, she convinced him to confess to the priest and donate the money to charity. Hanssen agreed, but he was lying. He kept some of the money, and more importantly, he never actually stopped spying. He just became better at hiding it from his wife. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe. We've got more for you. So what did Hanssen betray? In a word, everything. For over 2 decades, he methodically dismantled US counterintelligence from the inside. He sold the identities of high-level American double agents embedded deep within Soviet ranks, agents like Dmitry Polyakov and Alexander Zaporozhsky. Both of them were ultimately executed by Soviet authorities. But the hunt for human assets was just the beginning. In 1977, the US started constructing a massive secret tunnel to bug the Soviet embassy in Washington. It cost hundreds of millions of dollars and years of labor. Hanssen leaked FBI surveillance playbook on the embassy in 1989. As a result, the Soviets sealed it off. But that was not it. He delivered detailed plans for the US nuclear war scenarios, target selection, missile trajectories, strategic preparation, along with contingencies for war with the Soviet Union. He spilled data on satellite tracking systems and weapons technology under development. He revealed many defectors who had crossed from the Soviet lines and exposed confidential investigations into suspected Soviet spies. He even compromised the Office of Personnel Security Investigations. Hanssen never showed remorse. He justified it as a game and a test of intellect. However, in 1985, the US intelligence realized that there had been too many failed undercover operations, sudden arrests overseas, intelligence leaks, and there was no mole, at least not apparently. Hanssen felt the net closing in. He stopped for some time. He went dark, pulling back on document drops until 1989. But the pause didn't stop his ambition. When Hanssen felt confident enough to resume spying after a few years, he re-established contact with the Soviet intelligence. But this time he demanded higher payments and better operational security. The Soviets were happy to comply. Hanssen's return coincided with some of the most sensitive operations in the history of counterintelligence. He had access to details about the FBI's investigation into Aldrich Ames, another American spy who was selling secrets to the Russians. Ironically, while the FBI was hunting for one mole, they had another one helping coordinate the search. Then the iron fist of geopolitics struck. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And the KGB disbanded. Many expected espionage to taper, but Hanssen saw an opportunity. Russia may have been in turmoil, but its hunger for intelligence remained ravenous. Chaos meant weakness. He delivered again. In December 1991, he picked up another $12,000 in payment. By the late 1990s, too many Russian agents working for the Americans had been compromised, and a pattern suggested someone with high-level access to the counterintelligence information. An investigation codenamed Grey Suit was launched to find the source of these leaks. The breakthrough came in 2000, when Russian intelligence defected or sold a file identifying their American source. That dossier didn't name Hanssen explicitly, but it included enough clues to narrow down the list of suspects. Early 2001 brought Hanssen a new assignment, a promotion to a liaison role at the State Department's Office of Foreign Missions. In reality, however, it was a gilded cage, because from there, the FBI could watch his every move. In January, the FBI wired Hanssen's office and surveilled his personal devices. The man appointed as his assistant was Eric O'Neill, a tech specialist tasked with following him. When O'Neill borrowed Hanssen's Palm Pilot, which is a personal digital assistant, FBI analysts pulled incriminating records. And finally came the doomsday, February 18, 2001. Foxstone Park in Fairfax, Virginia, a familiar place for Hanssen. This was his dead drop site. Hanssen parked his car and with practiced calm placed a sealed garbage bag full of classified documents and taped it to a footbridge. As he turned away, FBI agents moved in, red handcuffs glinting in winter light. As they cuffed him, Hanssen paused and asked, "What took you so long?" His voice was calm, almost bemused. But the longest-running mole in the US history had finally been caught red-handed. Arrested, Hanssen sat in custody, stoic. When asked to explain, he downplayed his role. He claimed that the leaks were minimal, short-lived lapses only, but the FBI had all the information. Surveillance footage, financial transaction records, bulky with cash and diamonds, forensic logs from his devices, confirmation of his offset date cipher. Under pressure, he agreed to a debriefing. Little by little, Hanssen peeled back his years of secrecy. He told them about the drop sites, about the codename systems, even the name of the dead drop site in Foxstone, which was Ellis. Facing the possibility of execution, Hanssen struck a deal. On July 6, 2001, he pleaded guilty to 15 counts of espionage and conspiracy. As terms, he received 15 consecutive life sentences without parole in exchange for a full cooperation. He provided exhaustive damage assessments that allowed the FBI to immediately overhaul agency procedures, internal monitoring, secure handling of drop devices, surveillance logs, and digital audit trails. He revealed enough to identify and neutralize surviving threats. The Russians never admitted that Hanssen worked for them. No thanks, no protection, no acknowledgement of his decades of service, nothing. They threw him away like a used asset, which was exactly what he had become. For a man who thought he was smarter than everybody else in the room, he died completely alone in a supermax cell, used by both sides, remembered by neither.